It's time for Windows Weekly, big Microsoft event coming up on October. We'll talk about what we expect to see and what we expect not to see. More Windows 1903 information, including the factoid that it's catapulted into first place for Windows 10 usage. That's pretty amazing. And why did your phone, go out yesterday? All that and more coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 636, recorded Wednesday, August 28th, 2019. Redmondology. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Epson's EcoTank printers. Kiss expensive cartridges goodbye. Adding the Epson EcoTank printer to your home or office. EcoTank comes with a ridiculous amount of ink. Just fill and chill. Check out epson.com/EcoTankLeo to learn more. And by Capterra. Find the right tools to make an informed software decision for your business. Visit Capterra's free website at capterra.com/Windows. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Microsoft, and there is news from Microsoft today. Joining us to comment are stalwarts, our Microsoft stalwarts. That's Paul Thurrott, Thurrott.com.
What qualifies as a stalwart? Is it 20 years, 30 years?
Yeah.
How do we...
I'm looking at your hair, Paul. You got a new thing going. I don't know what it is.
I know you do.
Did you gray it?
Yeah, let me explain it. No, I am procrastinating going to the...
I like it.
It looks good on you, though.
Isn't it good? He's brushing it back, kind of, to give it a little...
I hate it.
He's got a little fro.
Aw.
No, it's
You
good.
know what happens is I'll go to the barber and I'll get one of those military haircuts, and then I sit there in a chair and I could almost cry, and I'm like, why have I waited so long to do this?
You prefer short hair. You're the Mad Dog Mattis of Windows Weekly.
I don't know what I am, but... Yeah.
That's Mary Jo Foley to his left. She is the star of ZDNet's Microsoft blog, all about Microsoft.com. Together each week, we comment on the latest news and Paul's hair.
Yep. Wait till next week.
I like it, Mary Jo. I agree with you. I think it's
it on you.
distinguished.
It looks good.
It's kind of like a silverback.
Yeah.
I am very much like a silverback.
If we're going gray, let's all do it together.
All right.
That's what I say.
Hey, this is, by the way, practically the gray-haired show. You're the one.
It is.
The one holdout. This is something you predicted. You were talking about, I think, Mary Jo, for some time, a Surface event in the fall, and now it's official.
Yep.
Tell us about
October 2nd.
Yes.
It's a Wednesday.
Oh, you know what that means?
Yep. We got to talk about that.
So we don't know the time of it yet. All we know is we get the save the date. It says 10/02/19. It says New York, New York, Microsoft event. There's a weird little stylized Windows logo thing on a black background. And that's
Which,
all
by
we
the
get.
way, we need to over-discuss in a few seconds.
We do. Right.
But it doesn't say Surface per se.
It does not.
No, and I will compliment Mary Jo now. I complimented Brad on this earlier. You were the two only people that wrote a headline about this event that got it correct, which is it is a Microsoft event. Everyone else reported it as a Surface event.
Because
I said a hardware event.
We'd been expecting a Surface event, right? So people just
You didn't say
slotted
Surface.
it into their existing
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yeah. I mean, Paul is the one who I think months ago said to me, there's an October event, right? Because somebody told you.
Oh, I found out about it. Yeah.
So you knew that like months ago, but we just didn't know when.
Well, now
and
we know
so,
the
what's
exact
funny?
date. Yeah.
It's the exact same day as last year's Surface event.
Yep. I think this year I'm going to bring an HP laptop so Panos doesn't steal it off
he
my
took
lap.
it from you last time.
Yeah.
Literally mid-sentence typing.
Wow.
Yep.
So shall we play a game? Shall we look at this logo?
Yes, let's play a game.
And discuss. Let me pull it up so people.
Yeah,
who
bring
are
up this image
watching-
because this has been an object of much discussion online,
It has.
as it would be. I'm sure as it was intended to be.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And to be clear, it's the most likely scenario is it's nothing. It's just the Microsoft logo, early frame of an animation in which it gets drawn in. Right? It's not a swastika, guys. Obviously.
It looks like the Apple fan key.
Yep. It looks like a four-leaf clover.
It does.
It looks like the Conway's Game of Life. Oh, I know what it looks like. Tron.
Right. Oh, right. Brad said
Light
snake.
cycles. Snake.
Yep.
Maybe they're doing a deal with Nokia.
I hope so. The last one worked out great.
It worked out so well. That is interesting.
No, you know what I thought? I thought it looked like surfaces laid flat, and that's the hinge that you see in the middle.
See, the thing about all of this Kremlinology is Apple really took this to a new level. I think Microsoft probably looking over it, all the attention
Did you
Apple
call it
gets.
Kremlinology?
Yeah, Kremlinology. You know,
no, that's good. That's
on the
good
May
word.
Day parade when the analysts would look at, well, who's standing in the up there on the Kremlin wall,
That's exactly what this is. Yeah.
and who is in front and who is in back, and
just like with the Kremlin, there's actually one dead guy in there controlling him with like sticks and wire.
is that Joseph Stalin?
Yeah, exactly. He looks a little pale.
Because so this is I'm gonna go with this is this is conscious on the part of Microsoft to get us all
it's very
talking about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is.
So let's do it. So when I see this, first of all, it's a Microsoft logo, obviously, right? The four squares. If you look at the logo on a Surface device today, the squares of the logo are the part that's filled in, and the rest of it is like white space. And so here's the far-fetchedest of my ideas about this. What if this is for LiteOS? It's the light version of the logo. Right?
Right.
It's not the full opaque thing. It's like a light version.
Light cycle version.
Yeah, the light cycle version. That's an idea.
So,
but like I said, more it's probably just the beginning of an animation, and it fills in and becomes the full logo.
It honestly, it looks like a mistake. It doesn't look quite right.
Because they're all at different points. Yeah.
Right. At
Wait,
first,
are
you're
they all
trying
the
to
same length?
overlay it, right? Like, what if I folded it this way or this way, right?
Oh my God! Michael Gillette's doing that right now somewhere.
He is.
He's folding it like an
There is
origami
something
thing.
subtly wrong with it that's disturbing, and I can't quite like a minor key or something. I can't quite.
Yeah, you're right.
You're a designer, Paul. Is there something in there that bugs you?
The thing that sticks, that the one in the top left is significantly shorter than all of the other ones. Like in each of the other three squares, there's probably a long combination of lines. But in that one, there's a short. It's very short.
Well, the shortest
there's something missing there. There is not a second side to it. I don't know what that means. It might mean nothing. It probably almost certainly means nothing.
Right.
Could it be the intersection where this event's going to be? It almost could be a map.
That'd be amazing. Oh boy, that would be disappointing. And yes, you could. Those are the one-way streets in Manhattan that you have to navigate.
I mean, clearly what's going to happen is you're going to go to the event, and on the screen you're going to see this, and it's going to, as you said,
turn into something.
Animate into something like the new.
And it's either going to be really disappointing, meaning it's just the Microsoft logo, or it's going to be like, oh, look at that.
I can
look at the middle. Look at the middle of the top. It's a hinge, right?
The middle of the top.
Like where the two lines are parallel in the top part of this logo.
This is a hinge?
It looks like a hinge to me. Like if you were folding the top horizontally across, that's the hinge.
What if this is nothing more than the new logo that will be on the devices will actually light up, but only in the outline?
Yep,
right?
that would be cool.
Yeah.
That actually would be cool.
You know that Chris Capicella is listening to this and giggling.
He is.
Oh,
he's laughing.
Yeah, chortling, I think is the right word.
Yeah.
The evil Bond villain laugh.
So, sorry, Chris.
$1 million.
So I'm gonna say this. I'm pretty sure I'm right. They are going to unveil a new Surface logo, which will probably be a new Windows logo as well, maybe even a new Microsoft logo. And that's what this is the beginning of. Not the full version, obviously, because that would be weird.
There's never been a Surface logo, right? They've always used the word Surface. For some time period, they had the Windows logo, I believe, on some Surface devices. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
But look what's on the back of the Surface Go. It's 4 squares.
That's Microsoft.
That is a Microsoft.
So I'm saying this is maybe a chance to unveil a new...
Yeah, but the whole point of the Microsoft logo was Microsoft's the brand that matters here, not Surface. Or that would be a big reversal.
Right.
So maybe it's a new Microsoft logo.
maybe
it's on stores. It would be such a horrible thing to change.
I mean, this is the same as that, except that it's incomplete.
Okay, guys, wait. What if? So I didn't think they would unveil Windows Lite at this event, but if they are going to, and they give us the real new name, which is not going to be Windows, what if this is the logo of the thing that is not Windows?
I think you're right. Bingo.
Actually, okay, by the way, one more thing to throw out there real quick, and I think both of you will remember this. This very closely resembles the old Office logo, which was for outlines. Now, I think the smaller two the bottom two were smaller. I don't think they were all the same size, but because it's an outline, it sort of resembles that. Yeah. Maybe it's a Microsoft 365. Does Microsoft 365 have a logo beyond just the Microsoft logo?
No.
I mean, that would make a little bit of sense. That would be
interesting. Right. If this is a Microsoft 365 branded
So it has
device.
Elements of Microsoft plus Office because it comes from Office 365.
Yep.
Literally, there are people laughing out loud in Redmond right now.
There are.
Because honestly, the 90% chance of this is it means nothing.
I know.
It's just the Microsoft logo, nothing more.
Plus, I have to admit, I am doubtful they're going to unveil Windows Lite and or the Courier-like Centaurus device at this event. And the reason I am doubtful is, can I just say why?
Yes, please.
Because I think it's not till next year. I think 2020 is the year for that. And if you're Microsoft, you don't want to tip your hand that early.
See, I agree with you. I agree it's not ready. But why might they do this? Because all of a sudden, that's what all of these consumer electronics companies are doing. They're talking about this stuff for the future. Folding screens. Lenovo talked about a folding screen device running Windows 10 that will be coming sometime later. We're going to see at IFA before this event, I bet, a lot more of that kind of thing. Samsung and Huawei and one other company announced these folding screen phones, and then there have been delays, and so essentially these things have been put off for months and months and months. I mean, maybe this is the right climate for this.
Yeah, maybe.
Google has spent the summer acknowledging rumors about their upcoming line of phones, which I mean has to have a material impact on sales of their existing devices.
Right.
Not that there are any, but whatever. But I mean, I mean, Microsoft, look, we've talked about this. There are several, almost all Surface devices need to be updated. And that's honestly been the case a lot of years. So some number of them will absolutely be updated. But what would put this event over the top? What would make this event more noteworthy, especially given that it's happening literally right at the beginning of October, right after 19H2 happens, and we'll be talking about the next version of Windows. And oh my God, isn't that a huge, important release? And haven't we not seen anything huge and important in 20H1 yet?
Right. Sure.
Maybe this is the right time.
Could be. Plus,
I'm in full speculation.
OEMs need the shell that's codenamed Santorini, which is part of Windows Lite, we believe, also. Like if you're making a foldable device, whether it's like a two-screen dual-hinge thing like Centaurus or a foldable thing, you need this new shell from Microsoft that builds on top of Windows Core OS, and they haven't announced it yet publicly.
By the way, I mean, what if this is a Microsoft event or hardware event, like you called it, that isn't just Microsoft?
Except the hashtag's Microsoft event. Yeah.
But it is a Microsoft event, but they would, as part of the rollout to the next version of Windows 10, they might have partners with them. That's not unheard of.
Yeah, true. So we're just guessing on all this.
Yeah, we're literally just guessing.
Good job, though. I mean, you guys, if ever the Kremlin has a parade.
The Kremlinologist.
You're hired.
I'm going to get a business card that says that.
Kremlinologist.
Actually, I'll just call it Redmondologist.
Oh, Redmondologist is great.
Nice. That is good.
Oh, I really like that.
Now that the Americans is off the air, Mary Jo and I could star in the Redmondologists. It's coming to ABC on Tuesday nights.
Tuesday nights on ABC.
But let's say some of the things we have heard that we do think could happen at this. So we've just been throwing things out there. So I've heard pretty solidly, and I'm not the only one hearing this, that we're going to see an ARM-based Surface at this thing.
All right, so that's good because I will then not buy the Samsung device that's coming out next month.
By the way, regarding that, it's definitely smart to wait because, like I said, IFA is coming and there's going to be more of those. It's going to be interesting to compare all of these things.
Yeah.
Given that you believe this is happening, what is the most likely version of Surface to have this chipset, or is it a brand new device?
Brand new device.
Really?
New line. Yep.
Not a Go.
That's what I hear.
Not the Go.
I hear not the Go, not Surface Pro, because what I heard from a
Pro's
couple
not right.
contacts is they're going to start differentiating between ARM and Intel-based. So ARM-based devices are going to be the always connected with built-in LTE, and the Intel are going to not be that. So I don't think we'll see any more LTE infused Surface Pro.
It's interesting because there is speculation that Apple will do something very similar, that they'll continue to do, I think it was Jean-Louis Gasset who wrote, you're going to have to use Intel for heavy hardware, for really,
it's the workstation thing.
The workstation thing.
For those professional videographers and
they already have that
graphic
distinction, by the way, between a PC and a workstation.
Yeah.
And
well, by the way,
it was a Xeon, Apple,
but not so subtly, Apple has expanded its use of the word "pro" in its products.
Isn't
in
that
recent
interesting?
years, right? So,
and they're predicted to do so with
I think
the
it is.
iPhone.
I mean,
yeah.
There's an iMac Pro.
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future there'll be an A series based iMac that will just be the lower end version.
Yeah.
Etc. And obviously the laptops as well.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I know. I think it's going to have a Qualcomm HCX, maybe a customized version of it, but I think it's definitely going to be something positioned somewhat differently from the Surface Pro.
Can I? Do you mind? I'm curious what both of you guys think about this, because this is something that the impetus for me writing that programming Windows series was this notion that UWP is dead, and what does that mean? What does it mean? And a lot of people have said, well, we go back to Win32. Win32 is a relic from the mid 1990s. You don't write to something that low level if you're creating a new app today. You do something on top of it, and that's why things like WinForms and WPF have come back from the dead, basically. But the question is, what's next? What's the plan for the future, if there is one? Right? People have speculated that it might be PWA, for example. But the reason I bring this up now is when you talk about Qualcomm, there will never be 100% compatibility with the software of the past. You can't run 64-bit desktop applications. That's most desktop applications these days. So how do you, what's the platform? In other words, it's kind of the same question we would have asked about Windows RT back in the day. It's the question we would have asked about S mode, where at that time the answer was UWP. But what's the platform for this thing? What's the, with the central, I realize it will run some of the stuff. Right. And the store exists and there are apps there and it will run those things. But what's the thing you're selling it on to consumers? Like what's the platform?
The value prop. I think it's always connected, right? So first line workers, anybody who always needs to have LTE available constantly.
Yeah, but what are they? But I mean, no, I understand.
What are they running?
Apps
in the store.
What are they running?
Apps in the store, right? So PWAs, the Win32 apps that have been, what do they call that when they process it so it works on Windows on ARM?
Tenderized?
Yeah. I don't know what they call it. So in other words, well, there are 32-bit desktop apps will run. They run in emulation, right?
Have they said 64 will never run or just not yet?
No, they will
never. Wow. Yeah. Okay. That's not a good device.
That's what they've said. Now, I mean, could that I've never quite understood why, but that's what they've said.
Yeah.
Because an ARM chip isn't inherently a 32-bit chip. There's 64-bit.
No, it's inherently a 64-bit chip. Yeah.
Right. Well, so that's really puzzling. That's an artificial marketing distinction then.
Well, I mean, I hope so, right? Because ideally, this thing could run 64-bit. That opens up a lot of stuff, especially as the performance improves. I mean, this is the same conversation we have a lot, but bad performance but full compatibility is way preferable to no compatibility. So,
right.
Because the performance fixes itself over time. That will happen, but. Yeah. I'm just curious. The central, we always bring this up with anything new from Microsoft. What's the store hasn't worked. The UWP has failed. I mean, so what? Here's your new platform. It's cool. Look, it's got two screens or a folding screen or whatever it is. Neat. What are the apps? What are the apps?
Right.
I don't know.
My guess is it would be targeted at people who don't need to run legacy necessarily, but people who can run, quote, modern. They love the word modern apps.
I mean, the web solves a lot of that if it's there, if those apps are there.
Yeah. Right. As PWAs become more prominent, as Windows on ARM gets better, I mean, they'll have to have a version of Credge that works on it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
They don't yet.
Yep.
Maybe it's for more simple computing needs, and then Surface Pro is for people who still need things like Win32 apps and heavy-duty processing, like Leo was saying.
I haven't tried that yet. I know when you go to download Chrome on ARM today, you get the 32-bit version. It's just seamless. You don't have to think about it. I assume, although I don't know, that Microsoft does the same thing with the new Edge.
I think it's interesting, or it's an interesting question to ask, is this reflecting the way people use computers? Is it noticing that, we now have two classes of users, and we're going to...
By the way,
right?
That's very central to this conversation, because you were just talking about, we were just talking about the Pro versus normal, the ARM versus Intel, the workstation versus kind of PC, or whatever you want to call it. That dividing line exists and will exist in the ARM versus Intel stuff on the PC side for sure. Mm-hmm. And I think that, one of the reasons something like Chromebook makes a lot of sense today, regardless of whatever success level it may or may not have, is that a lot of people do most stuff on a phone, but sometimes they need that bigger screen and a full keyboard. And it's a simple device. It's usually a pretty inexpensive device. It's going to last for several years. You open it up, you type, you do your thing, you report your, whatever it is you're working on, and then you kind of go back to the phone. And whatever this Microsoft thing is, it's possible the first version especially will be slotted in the same way. The Surface Go, in many ways, is that thing today. It's not anything that most people would use as a computer. It's more of a secondary device.
Yep.
It's like an accessory almost.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Any rumors that we're going to see, what is it, Andromeda?
No, that's gone.
That's gone.
Yeah. Centaurus, if you want to think, what is the successor? So, remember Courier, dual screen, hinge device? That's what Centaurus is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, Microsoft did show off advanced renders of the Centaurus device inside the company in the summer. So they're continuing to show it like it's advancing and they have this thing. But what Centaurus needs to work is Windows Core OS, and it needs the shell that we're talking about on top of that for foldable devices. So they haven't announced either of those two things yet. They haven't talked publicly about Windows Core OS or this foldable shell, and all of those things are needed. Windows Lite, we also presume, will be the operating system on this thing. They haven't announced that either. So,
but maybe that could be this day. Maybe this is part of the point. It would certainly make it a lot more interesting.
I know. It would make it way more interesting. I've been asking around, do you guys, like sources, do you guys think this is coming in October? And everyone I've asked has said no.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it won't. I mean, they could.
The killer of dreams, Mary Jo.
They could pull out a surprise besides an ARM-based Surface, right? We also hear AMD-based Surface laptop for this event.
Yeah, I mean, that's a minor interest.
It is.
One of the things I came here today for, besides Paul's beautiful hair, is a sense of how important this event will be, because we have to decide if we want to stream it live and all that.
Well, by the way, it's a question about whether they will be doing that live. Yeah. Remember last year's they did not.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh.
So again, this was, by the way, kudos to Microsoft. They don't usually do this, and I really appreciate it. The email that we got was a save the date, right? And that's all there was. You couldn't RSVP. There was no more information.
Nice. It means you can send.
It's super nice to know the date. A lot of times with them, we know there's an event coming, and they don't give us the information we need to book travel and whatever. And so
Apple
this is
still hasn't told us about the Apple event that is almost certainly less than 2 weeks away.
Wow.
Oh, is there an Apple event coming in September?
Maybe
I'm surprised.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, so we don't know if it's like a 9 to noon thing, an all-day thing.
I've asked.
Where it is, obviously, and it's in New York, but where in New York?
Right.
I think
Right, we
because
don't
it's
know anything.
exactly the same day as the day that your Surface was stolen by Panos Panay, it's likely that it'll be a similar event. Don't you
It's been
think?
acting up ever since, too. It's weird. Like the camera seems to come on all the time.
Yeah, he put a bug in there.
Yeah, so last year's event was not streamed. It started really late in the day, like 4, right? And that's where they
really
announced
bad
Surface
time.
Pro 6, Laptop 2, Studio 2, and the headphones. So it wasn't a minor event, but they didn't even stream it. And they wouldn't let us video record any of it either, right?
And they said this was never going to be made available, and then they started making clips of it available online. They never put the whole thing on, but they did do little highlights.
Yeah. So we don't know those details. So you might be able to stream it, you might not. We don't even know how to schedule Windows Weekly for that. Like, is it going to happen?
I'm not here that day. I'm flying to Boston for a LastPass event on Thursday, so. It will be probably Pruitt hosting.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess depending on, so in other words, if it's a 9 to 5 kind of event, which is unlikely,
we'll do Windows Weekly the next day or something like that.
We might, yeah. So we'll obviously, as soon as we find out, we'll let you guys know.
Yeah.
But it does sound like it's potentially a big deal, like something we really want to know about.
Look, I mean, even if all it is Surface Book 3 and Surface, whatever
ARM-based Surface,
whatever. Yeah. I mean, even if it's that stuff, that's of course that's still interesting. It is still interesting, but there is a potential with the timing and with the weirdness around 20H1 and 19H2, and you never know. And of course, this little logo thing they threw at us just heightens the.
I think that was
questions.
Smart. That was smart. Got your attention.
Yeah. Oh, and I've seen a couple other interesting guesses from different pubs. So Windows Central's guessing Surface earbuds, the thing codenamed Morrison, I think, which would be kind of interesting.
Well, they did announce the Surface headphones at this event, right, last year.
Right. And then PC Mag, I think it was, or was it PC Mag? PC World, one of those two, speculating Teams for Life could debut there. So that's the version of Teams that we think they're doing for families.
Right.
So maybe
that ties into Microsoft 365 and
it does.
your rumor about a consumer version, and some kind of Microsoft 365 thing makes sense because that's what it's part of now.
Yep.
Or what Windows is part of now.
Yeah.
Oh, all fascinating.
Yeah, and then we do think minor refresh on Surface Pro line with USB-C, but not Thunderbolt, right?
Don't get me started on this topic, please.
I know. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have even brought that up. His hair is going to turn even grayer right now.
Well, now I can charge.
It will just fall out like a dead Christmas tree.
I can charge my Surface Go through the Type-C charger as well as the Surface connector.
Yes. Yeah, and by the way, any Surface portable computer with USB-C, you can do that. So
that's good. That's a start.
It is good, and I got to say, honestly, it's not terrible. Even Surface Book 2, I've plugged in upstairs with like a Dell USB-C power supply. It works great. It actually works pretty quick. It's not horrible.
No, I charge everything now Type-C because it's just convenient.
Yeah, but this is almost like it's universal.
This is not a
they
Thunderbolt.
Should call it that.
Yeah, universal. Wow. This is not a Thunderbolt port.
Right.
It's just a
Maybe
USB.
Microsoft was waiting for USB 4 when it becomes part of the spec.
Or 10.
No, I mean that's
10.
when it becomes part of it.
USB 10.
Let's just go to
soon.
10. Let's skip all the middle numbers.
Everybody's going to 10. Nobody's doing 9. We're all 10 now. Everything's 10. 10 is some magic number that
there was a headline that said I think it was Huawei was working on 6G. And my first reaction was, great, now Samsung's going to announce they're working on 7G.
7G. It's all made up. It's all made up. All right. Okay. Let's take a little break here to absorb what we've all learned here. And Windows 10, the subject, in just a moment. Our show today brought to you by some great printers to attach to your Windows machine. You know, it's funny because, Mary Jo, I know you're in the market for a new laptop. And somebody apparently was cleaning out the closet. Dr. Walter Atkins, I have to thank you for this, and sent me, I think, what should be your next laptop. Ready? It's thin, it's light, it's compact, it's a TRS
Wow.
Model 100.
That's awesome.
By the way, there is a modern version of this. Did you know this?
What?
Actually, is there?
It's advertised as a typewriter, if I'm not mistaken, but it's basically that. It has that small screen at the top. It's no distraction.
Yeah, for typing. Mm-hmm. This uses regular batteries.
You must, Mary Jo. Did you ever have one of these?
No, I never had one.
Every sports writer did, though, right?
This is always so envious of those things. I really wanted one of those.
Oh God, so did I.
Yeah.
The reason I was thinking about it is because this was modeled on something that Epson made, which is what I did have. I'm just thinking I have a relationship with Epson that goes back pretty much to the earliest days of computing. Remember your Epson MX80 tractor feed printer? Those Epson, the little Epson, like the Model 100 computers. Well, I never stopped being an Epson guy. Always bought Epson printers. But Epson's done something now that completely disrupts the industry, and I think they deserve such a pat on the back. They could have gone along like every other printer company with their inkjets, making good money on the cartridges. Epson created a new line of printers they call the EcoTank printers. No more cartridges. They're still an ink. It's a great inkjet. The EcoTanks are all-in-ones, wireless. They print via Wi-Fi. They're in color. They're beautiful. And they come with a ridiculous amount of ink in the box. Thousands of pages worth of ink in the box. They can hold up to 2 years of ink. They're easy to use, too. The tanks are very easy to fill. The ink bottles are color-coded, so you can't put the wrong bottle in. They're keyed, actually. It's more than just color. And they're auto-stop, so it's just so easy to fill. Fewer trips to the store, less frustration for you. Epson wants your printing experience to be stress-free and easy. EcoTank. I think they say, in their ad copies, changing the way people print. I think it's changing the way people think about inkjet printers, honestly. And boy, talk about courage to do this. Get the compact EcoTank printer for your home or office so you can just fill and chill. And when you go to the store in a couple of years, you can thank me. Check out Epson.com/EcoTankLeo. That's our special address. To transform the way your home or office prints, do away with out-of-ink frustration. For the best combination of ease and value, turn to the Epson EcoTank printers. And I know the kids are back in school. Now's the time. Kids go through a lot of ink, don't they? They print up reports and science projects and photos. Now through September 30th, get free overnight shipping when you use the promo code EcoTankLeo at checkout for any EcoTank printer. Instead of going to buy more cartridges, go and buy an EcoTank printer. Offer valid within the 48 contiguous states. Exclusions apply, subject to availability. Just fill and chill. You won't be going back to the store for some time. Epson, E-P-S-O-N. You know the name. We've known the name for years. It's been the printer company for years. Epson.com/EcoTankLeo. EcoTank printers. Just fill and chill. Epson. Exceed your vision. Yeah, I thought Mary Jo would really, really do well with a
Terrace. I bet I could do my job using it.
I have to say, after typing on the MacBook, because our son's using a MacBook with his Epson EcoTank printer for school, and I set it up because, oh my God, the school needs Flash. So they say you have to use IE or Firefox. So I set up Firefox for him. I don't know if Credge would support Flash on a modern computer, but they need Flash. They haven't updated that. And I was typing on the MacBook, and I could not type accurately. Those keys are awful. And I'm looking at this. This is a great keyboard.
That looks like a Commodore 64 keyboard.
Rugged.
Oh, my God.
Well, a modern version of that could certainly be a lot thinner and lighter.
Yeah. It could be,
that looks like it's from the time it's from.
And a better display.
Of course.
But for writing, this is what was it? I can't remember. It was 40 by 4 or something like that. But
the handheld PCs that ran Windows CE, that the screen looked like that, aspect ratio, and then the keyboard was the same. So it was a clamshell.
Yeah.
And you couldn't fit in your pocket, but it was so much lighter. And I think Jerry Purnell used one for a while. I always wanted to kind of make that work.
Used this. Dr. Atkins also sent me his HP calculator.
Oh wow!
Look at that.
Does that work?
Yeah. Yeah, he was at Hughes in the Millstar program.
Wow.
And he also sent me, Another Tandy. He sent me, basically, I think they cleaned out his garage.
Jeez,
I've never seen this one.
Wow.
This is the Pocket Scientific Computer PC6. And this guy, you know, you could tell he's an engineer because he has the original box.
Exactly.
And I bet you the manual's in here. Yep.
And he has these devices.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Extra battery.
Because that looks like a Scion, but one that's only for math. You know, that's
Did
funny.
He only send me the box. Let me look. Here's the other manual. Oh, here it is. I see. That's it. Oh, there's nothing to it. It is a Scion. You're right. Look at this thing. I never saw this.
Oh, wow.
No, I've never seen that.
Cool.
Oh, there is a full keyboard on it. I didn't see that. That's funny.
Well, it's a calculator. And then there's
but it has like
that is a chiclet.
like a Mylar keyboard.
Yeah. And then it's a full calculator. Wow, this is the Pocket Scientific Computer. So he was an engineer.
This is the Lenovo Yoga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Years before.
Isn't this great? So thank you, Dr. Atkins, for sending these along.
Nice.
I am.
What do you call those keys on the bottom row? Their bottom key. Those look like they're like rubber. Like the
Chiclet.
God, what call it?
Chiclet.
Yeah, the Mattel Aquarius had those kind of.
They're
keys.
rubber and they squish.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't
Those
like
are terrible.
these. Yeah, these are these are chiclet. I think the PC Junior had chiclet keys too.
Yeah.
And then this is a membrane keyboard. This is what my Atari 400 had.
That's right. Like a Atari. Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Awful membrane keyboard and then chiclet.
Yep. Terrible. Well, yeah, because you'd hurt your fingers typing on it because you weren't sure if you were pressing hard enough to.
This is
Make
when
the
you,
letter
when
appear.
you put these together. This is the history of computing.
It is.
We got, and then I'm adding the Surface Go, and now we've got everything. The history of computing in 3 devices. What a world! Thank you, Dr. Atkins.
Very nice.
Or it might not be Dr. Atkins. It might be his heirs. We found these in Dad's garage. We knew you'd find a good home for them.
You guys have a museum there, don't you?
Yeah, we're not as big. You know, in the old place, that's all we had. And we ended up, when we moved, I told them, guys, you got to get, because we had a storage locker and they were going to store everything. I said, no. You got to get rid of everything and we'll just save. So behind me, you can't really see it. Behind me, though, is a little museum. I've got Newton's in there, the original iPhone, the original Google phone.
Oh, that Intel education computer. What was that called?
The one laptop per child.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's also an Asus ePC, the first netbook. So, yeah, I have a little mini museum. You can see all the stuff behind me, but you never see it. It's just kind of there.
Yeah.
If people who are interested come visit, I'll let them browse the museum. Because it is kind of fun to have this museum of technology. I also have a big wooden 6-foot wide slide rule behind me. I think that's
also good for hitting the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, he had the pleather case for this Model 100. That's nice.
Yeah.
All right, Paul, Mary Jo, back to the show. Back to Windows 10. I'm sorry, I keep putting junk in your... You should never have given me edit. I
say that every time we do the show.
Keep putting junk in there. First, the title of the show became Your Equation Here.
Right.
And then I just put a bunch of Z's in there. So I'm deleting them.
Sometimes he just draws aimlessly on it with a pen.
Yeah.
It's fun having the capability to modify what you're working on.
It's okay.
Windows 10 AdDuplex data. The data is in. Survey says.
Yeah, it's actually finally Windows 10 version 1903 usage has exploded, and it really in a good way. I mean,
yeah, careful with that.
Be careful with that, I guess.
Boom.
Last month, if I remember, I don't want to bring this thing up. This lights up my face. So yeah, last month it was just 11% of all of the versions of Windows 10 in use. This month it is 33% and tied for first place with 1803, which as recently as, let's see, July had 54% usage, 61% back in May, I think. Yeah. So this is finally happening. And of course, the timing is great because 19H2 should be out any day now. And we can do it, do it all again. But 19H2 and 1903 are basically the same thing. So that's fine.
So confusing.
I just got 1903 offered to me on the HP that you loaned me. Yep.
Okay.
And so I tried to download it today, and the download failed. I got some weird error message.
Excellent.
So going to retry it later. See how that goes.
Good luck with that. I'm sure it's fine.
I think I'm up on all of my Windows machines up to 1903 now. I think they're all.
You are?
I only got 1903 fairly recently on some machines. Like some of the Surface machines didn't get it until pretty late.
Nope. Yep.
Which, there was no complaining about that. People are usually cool about that kind of thing.
Great.
So it appears to be going. Of course, we know it's kind of unfettered now. So that I guess this makes some sense.
Any particular issues with 1903 people should be aware of? Or is it all pretty good? I haven't had any problems.
The one thing that Mary Jo, I think it was last week, was talking about how she had helped somebody troubleshoot an issue.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's the one thing people should know, right? Yeah. That if they're not getting it and they're interested in getting it, there's probably a blocker that they might be able to look up and find out what it is.
Right.
Should you force it, though, really?
Yeah, that's a good question.
You're not forcing it, though, at that point. In other words, what you're doing is removing a blocker, and it will be just delivered naturally, like a baby.
with an equal amount of pain and suffering.
Yeah. The tip last week was go to the release information page, and then you can click on 1903 and you can see known issues.
What the blockers are, yeah.
Right. See what's still unmitigated, and there's lots of things that are listed as investigating. A lot.
Yeah, I mean, we're not in the phase here where you're seeking it or something, like you're some kind of advanced user. If you and you're not going to just get it. I mean, if all the blockers are out of the way, what you'll see is a prompt in Windows Update that will tell you that it's available. You can not get it immediately if you want. So I guess the point is, for those people who do want it, you could force it by downloading the ISO and just running setup. But if you want to get it naturally, again, like a baby.
Natural childbirth, yeah.
You follow Mary Jo's advice, and you can find out maybe what's blocking you from getting
look at this. There's my error right there. Updates may fail to install, and you get error 0x800-73701. I think that's what I got today. It says investigating.
And what does it say?
Investigating.
Oh, jeez.
That's all it says.
All right, working. You may have a blocker to go.
Yeah.
I've seen a few people say, like, it wouldn't install because I didn't have the drivers.
Yep.
I've seen some people complain about audio issues. I don't know.
There was the what was that one? The Norton and Symantec incompatibilities, but I think that got fixed.
Yeah, well, yeah, because how embarrassing is that? If your antivirus blocked 1903,
right?
Actually, wasn't it blocking all updates? I think it blocked Patch Tuesday updates.
If the antivirus was out of date and didn't use the new model, they would block the update.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the it's not done until Norton doesn't run theory.
Yeah.
Tech Power Up. Keith 512 in our chat room is quoting techpowerup.com saying Windows 10 1903 has a nasty audio stutter bug. I guess that's what Keith was referring to.
There was Wi-Fi connectivity problem with it for some people, but I haven't had that or heard. I haven't heard. I shouldn't say I don't have it yet, but I haven't heard people saying that was hitting them, I don't think.
This is a good sentence from Tech Power Up. Redmond has one-upped its last big move against audio by killing the direct sound hardware pipeline and mongrelizing PC audio under Intel's lousy and fundamentally anti-competitive Azalea specification that solves common audio compatibility problems under a scorched earth guiding principle. Kill any feature that could possibly lick our after-sales support budget. I'm running out of breath. By dumping every aspect of audio onto a very restrictive host signal processing architecture. Let people come up with their own soft DSPs because CPUs can handle them.
I'm sorry, was that a sentence?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a great sentence.
You don't have to be a professional writer to know that that's terrible writing. Right? I mean,
B.T. Aruner at techpowerup.com. What a great sentence.
Wow.
That is wild.
Is it all caps too? Because that would really just put it right over the top.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know anything about the subject matter, but it's a damning indictment.
Do you know anything about writing? Because
is it bad writing?
How do you feel about punctuation?
Is it more? Well, I eluded some of the punctuation. There's a dash in here somewhere, I think, or a comma or something.
Okay.
There are definitely quote.
Yeah.
You get paid by the word?
It's a.
Right.
Windows 10 May 2019 updated version is a pinnacle of neglect and contempt that Microsoft has shown towards the all-important audio subsystem of the modern PC.
A pinnacle of neglect and contempt?
Wow.
Yes.
People think I'm negative. I got to tell you, I have really heard nothing wrong with the 1903. I don't. That's crazy.
It's a lot.
Pinnacle.
It's a lot going on.
The pinnacle of
neglect and contempt.
And I thought that was Windows Weekly.
Exactly.
Wow.
The pinnacle.
Man.
So, anyway.
So we both agree that it's mostly good. So
mostly good.
But I guess we're simpletons by comparison.
What do you know?
I guess so.
What do you know? It's
well, you would think that you're a Microsoft cheerleader.
Boy, if anybody thinks either of you are Microsoft cheerleaders, they clearly don't listen.
It depends on the context.
Everyone says that. I'm like, what?
Most of the time, people go, "Can Paul cheer up?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
The answer is no.
Oh, he did not.
I'm going to pull up this page just for the record.
Actually, I've got a moment coming soon that's going to be. It was a moment of great cheer for me today.
Oh, great!
I'm a little worried about this.
Great cheer.
No, this was a good moment for me.
Okay.
There's the sentence.
There's
the sentence. That's the sentence.
Does this person believe that? Oh no, I guess there's a second sentence in the paragraph.
There's 3 sentences in the paragraph, 2 short and 1 long.
I love how the third sentence is just like 8 words long. You know, it's
2 words. Yeah.
I've never owned a PC without a discrete sound card. Said no one normal ever.
Oh, that's another one. Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's not 1995, guy.
Yeah.
You don't.
Time to get a motherboard audio. It's the modern way.
How could you not? That's crazy.
Well, he might be a gamer. We don't know.
I have never owned a PC without a discrete sound card. Are you sure this isn't from the past?
Maybe this is an old article. Nope, Sunday. Sunday. Symptoms, audio stuttering and glitching, lots of it. Think Winamp circa 1999, running on a Pentium 133 with the CPU priority toggle set to low and the CPU being subject to the rigors of Internet Explorer, rendering yahoo.com over a 56K PCI soft modem.
This person is insane.
That bad. I love it. He's my new hero.
Like rant mode on.
/rant.
No, it's not. Listen, so again, the story we'll be talking about later. I made the observation about myself that you don't rant without a reason.
Maybe there's a reason. I mean, if you had stuttering in your audio,
but you're a sound aficionado.
No, I'm sorry. This is one person experiencing something and saying that 1903 is bad.
Right.
You know, like you don't take.
I think that's most people on the internet, though, right? Like if you're one thing is broken.
We record podcasts on this thing. I do this every day. I have problems with Windows for sure. I've never had a stuttering audio problem ever.
Right.
Oh, by the way, don't have a discrete sound card either. But then again, it is 2019.
I love it.
You're going to hear from this guy, Paul.
I hope so.
Yeah, you are.
I don't.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, moving right along. I've lost track of where we are in the rundown.
Yeah. We're going to talk about Windows 7.
A 1-year extension. Yeah.
Windows 7?
Yes, we should talk about Windows 7. You know, the operating system that at least 40% of all Windows users are still running.
I just wrote an article saying what to do in January when your Windows 7 goes out of support. Is that not going to happen?
White sneakers and waiting for the aliens to pick you up?
Yes. That was one solution, yes.
No, it is going to happen. It's still happening.
Oh, it's still happening? Okay.
January 14th, 2020 is the day when you will get your last security update for Windows 7 for free from Microsoft. But you can pay for a security update, as we have talked about.
That's been the case for a couple of years now, right?
Yep. And it's not cheap, and only businesses can pay.
It doubles every year, right?
Yeah. It's not cheap. It's not something you want to be like, yeah, I can keep paying for it. If you're an SMB,
it's designed to get you to upgrade.
Right.
It is.
It's like, well, if you're willing to pay a ton of money, I guess we'll make some patches just for you.
So what I'd like to see happen is Microsoft in year 3 call out the companies that are still paying it now at triple rates or whatever. I guess more than triple, really.
It doubles every
exponentially
year.
higher. Yeah.
It does. But we found out this week that for certain enterprise customers who have enterprise agreements, and if you're running a subscription version of Windows 10, like Windows 10 E5, Microsoft 365 E5, Microsoft 365 E5 Security, you can get Windows 7's extended security updates for 1 year without paying anything extra. So that's good. It's not a reason to go to those subscription versions, because why, like if you can go to Windows 10 and have a subscription version, why are you even worrying about Windows 7, right?
Right. Well, we shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's right. It's for people who have to roll back, right, or have mixed environments, those kinds of situations.
There's some app that only runs on 7 for whatever
exactly.
legacy app, whatever. Yeah.
Right, but it's not like I've seen so many people saying, "Okay, so this means January 14, 2020 isn't really the date." No, this doesn't mean that. This doesn't mean that at all.
Yes, right, and that's the thing. So when XP was exiting support originally, Microsoft kept extending it. And I think if you just look at the headline to this story, you might believe, well, maybe they'll do this again. And that's not what this is about.
Right. So it's just one more way that Microsoft is saying, you know what, we're going to try to ease you in if you're an enterprise. We want you to stay patched, but we realize not everybody's going to be ready in January 2020. Even though we've been warning you about this for years, we know because of how many people are still running it, that not everybody will be ready to go.
I mean, they couldn't have made Windows 7 less friendly to use, in the past several. I mean, they could have done a lot to make it better, especially around software updates.
Right, and they're trying to not make it enticing, right? Like they don't want to be like,
yeah. And they don't want people to say, oh, well, that's okay. There's a way.
Yeah. Right.
But
in fact, we have a new number about how many people are still running Windows 7. Kaspersky did a survey, and they said 47% of SMB PCs are still on Windows 7.
Wow, that's almost half.
It's almost half.
Yeah.
Jeez Louise.
I know.
We stayed on Windows 7 a long time for our editors.
Right.
Because, well, I mean, for obvious reasons. I don't know if they've gone to Windows 10 now or not.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mary Jo, how many people you've heard from. I've now heard from several people who are freaking out about this. And the problem, this isn't the only problem, but I'm hearing from several people who have that one application. It's some legacy thing from the past. It's not a Windows 7 app. It's like a 16-bit something that, whatever reason, it just doesn't work on Windows 10. And their entire life evolves around this thing. Mm-hmm. And now what? And I mean, eventually you're going to have to make this switch. But I mean, I think what people running XP found was, at least for a couple of years, and even individuals, I'm not talking about businesses who are getting support from Microsoft, but obviously there might be emergencies where Microsoft will issue a patch, but there will be this situation where you can run a modern version of Chrome or Firefox or maybe even Edge for some number of years. Mm-hmm. You'll be able to run some kind of antivirus or security package, whatever it is. I think those Kaspersky and those guys would be smart to do that. But it's not going to be forever, And at some point, I don't know, and there are all the obvious, sort of solutions for people, but it's gonna, this is gonna happen. I mean, it's gonna happen, just like natural childbirth, I don't know why.
Oh boy.
Yep. I don't know.
He had to go there, and he did. I still hear it. You probably do. Windows Media Center people are like, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, jeez, right.
Yeah,
right.
I know. I'm like, well, that's your prerogative.
Yeah. What version of Windows would they have to be on to continue to run Media Center forever?
I know.
And how?
7, yeah.
7.
You can run 7, yeah.
Well, did they ever end up supporting it on 8? I don't remember. I remember initially they said no because it was such a tiny percentage, but I don't remember.
I'm
if
pretty
it's 8, you're in good shape. You could run 8.
Could you? Some Eternal Ozzy in the chat room saying, couldn't you run it in a virtual machine on 10? Yeah.
Couldn't you?
Well, of course you could, but that doesn't solve the problems with still running 7 years down the road, right? Around security and.
Well, but if it's running in a virtual machine, you don't have to worry about security so much. I guess you do. The VM could be infected.
You're still. it could still become a zombie. I mean, I think if it's connected. Look, if it doesn't have to be connected to the internet, you're all set. Yes,
but it would be because
Media Center would
Media Center needs it. Yeah.
Yep.
That's an interesting.
Plus, Media Center would run terribly in a virtual environment. I bet.
Right.
So, Leo, what did you say when people said, "What should I do if I'm still running Windows 7 in January?"
So, this was an article for the AARP magazine. Okay, just so you know. So it's retired people.
Right.
They asked me to write a column because they said you're old, and
and you understand these people.
He said your audience, our readers can identify with you. And so I was it was a little challenging because I'm not going to tell.
Like they know you. It's
just like Paul. We feel like we know you. So it was a little challenging because I'm not going to say a lot of the workarounds we've talked about, like, well, try your old serial number and see if you can install 10 and stuff like that. That's not that is not going to work.
They can't see that. They're old.
Well, it's not that.
I'm
not that old. Yep. So I gave him 4 choices, and I have to say I'm wondering how many of these will survive at the edit. I said, 1, keep using it. It'll continue to work, but it'll become more and more risky online. Only stick with Windows 7, as Paul said, if you don't plan to use the internet at all.
Right. 2,
upgrade to the latest version of Windows. You can download Windows 10 Home for $139 directly from Microsoft. 3, if your system is more than 5 years old, it might pay to buy a newer computer with Windows 10 already on it. And considering, again, the audience, I said, check your nearest big box store for the best deals. I thought, I'll send them, because Price Club and Sam's Club and all those places actually pretty good return policies. They're not expensive. I'm not going to, say, go on.
Costco is like the Amazon for old people.
Yeah, it's Amazon for old people.
Yeah.
So you have to think of the audience. I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, just go to Dell.com. No, that won't work.
Right.
Then this will get cut. If you're technically inclined and up for a challenge, this might be a good time to try the free and up-to-date Linux operating system.
Oh, you went there.
I went there.
You should have recommended a Chromebook. Would have made more sense for that audience.
I'll completely agree. I probably should take Linux out and replace it with a Chromebook. It's like, you know what? It's not too late. It hasn't run yet. This doesn't run till October.
But habits are tough. I mean, that's the biggest problem in any switch. I mean, Linux. Yep. Or not Linux, Chromebook, Chrome OS, looks enough like Windows. I think people could kind of get around in it. But I bet a lot of times with some other system, they'll be looking for some particular app because they're so used to doing things a certain way. And if it's not there, they're going to be really confused.
Yeah, I mean, on the radio show, I will often steer somebody to a Chromebook, more often than not. Or an iPad. Frankly, for older people, an iPad's not a bad choice either. And I sometimes will say a Chrome box, which is, or an all-in-one, that runs Chrome OS. Those are good choices, I think, for most older people. They're not doing, in general, the kinds of things that they need a general-purpose operating system for. And they bought Windows because that's what you bought 10 years ago, right? Everybody bought Windows because that's what you got.
Yeah, they're not religious about it, but it's, when I talk about Chromebook, a lot of people on my site freak out because they're Windows guys and they can't stand it, but this audience, I think the issue is a little different. It's just the familiarity thing.
Yeah, agree.
And it's, I think Mary Jo has stories about her mother looking for the E or, whatever. You look for, you're just used to what you're used to. It's not, you're not religious about the OS or the platform or whatever, but when things aren't exactly the same, you kind of freak out.
Apparently I do it enough that it's a meme.
What is this?
Somebody just put this in the chat room. Windows, what you need, my friend, is a Chromebook. It solves all of life's little troubles.
And Walter Mossberg used to always, he was like, oh, you have problems with Windows? Just switch to the Mac. There's a zero-cost upgrade for you.
Oh,
right.
Oh, my God. Like, his solution was always just kill everything you've ever done. And
I'm going to write to my editor and say, I know you're going to cut the Linux item out, so I've written an alternate ending.
That's good. I think it's good.
The alternate ending version.
Yeah. I think Chromebook is a good option for people.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about this column, and I don't know if I'm going to get it. They said, write a couple of them, and if we want to keep doing it, we will. It's 200 words.
Oh, jeez. Wow. That's nothing.
That's not a column. It's like a pamphlet about a local cornfield.
Yes.
That's like one long sentence from that guy who you
I know. This guy could never do it, right? It is hard to write 200 words.
It's shorter is harder, always.
Always.
Yep.
Really hard. It's like a tweet.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but on the other hand, I wanted to answer this question because these are the exact people who have to deal with this in January.
Yep.
Oh, and the exact people for which there are no good answers.
And there really aren't.
That's the thing. I mean, and by the way, it's not just them. It's Kaspersky cited small businesses. Those guys aren't getting a deal from Microsoft. They can't pay a little bit to get support. You know, they're just left out of that. This is, I think, part of the problem.
Yeah.
With what's happening here. It's neat that there's a solution for the upper crust of the Microsoft's customer base, but there is no solution for the rest of us.
Well, and honestly, I would imagine many of these people are on a fixed income. They can't buy a new computer, even a Chromebook, and what they want is, look, this hardware works. How do I keep it going?
It's a huge problem.
That's what they really want.
Yep. I turn this thing on every once in a while. The thing's so old it probably still has like a modem in the side of it or whatever. And they just want to, check their friends on Facebook or send an email or whatever it is. And that thing should probably just run forever.
Yeah. So I don't know. If I gave them the best answer, but
there's no good answer.
There's no really good answer to this. Yeah.
No.
Moving along. Kaspersky. Oh, you already did that one. Dutch privacy watchdog.
Yeah.
3 words we hear a lot on this show.
Yes.
Complains again about data collection.
So this is, of course, nonsense, right? But the problem with this is Microsoft's approach to privacy concerns in Europe has been to throw up a bunch of UI in front of people. So if you log into Windows 10 for the first time on any computer, you'll see that screen with all the options on it about privacy. And that's only the tip of the privacy configuration options in Windows 10. It's unbelievable. If you go into settings, privacy, I don't remember the exact, I think there are 27 pages. A bunch of them are just chock full of options. It's a confusing mess.
Yeah.
And, I call this privacy theater. Microsoft is going to throw up a bunch of new stuff at people. Someone from the EU told me today that in the EU, when you log on for the first time, you actually see 7 different screens instead of the one screen we get here in the US and everywhere else because of the privacy stuff going on there. Wonderful. They could fix this problem right now. They could fix it right now. They could just have a switch and it says, I don't want you to collect any data. I don't care. They could just do that. And the reason they could do that now is because there are already 800 plus million computers running Windows 10 in the world. They have a big enough base that enough people would not flip that switch and it would be fine. They don't need it anymore. I think the reason that Windows 10 collects data the way it does is because this is where they switch to Windows as a service. And if they're going to upgrade Windows 10 twice a year with major new versions and ship 1 or more cumulative updates every single month, they need to know that it's working. But it's been in the market now for 4 years, 800 something million. I think they got this. I don't think they need it anymore. And honestly, like everything else oh God, I'm sorry.
But isn't it also the way they can tell which version you're on so they can force upgrade you? Like say you're on 1803 and expiration date's coming up.
Right now, there's if you look at the privacy settings, the amount they're collecting is insane. There will always be some little thing. I mean, they can pull your computer, see what version you're on. That's not, no one's going to think that's a privacy violation. This is just like information about what you're doing or how your computer's working or whatever is going up to Microsoft anonymously. It's telemetry data. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Enough people would not screw with this that it just wouldn't matter. But this is, so here's the good news part of this, because this is really cool. And you should look, you guys should, if you didn't, you should both look at this. 3 or 4 years ago, I guess 3 years ago this month, I went to FedEx.com to track a package, and their front page was a mess of text. It was text all over the page. And nowhere on the front page did it say anything about tracking, or could you enter a tracking number and track a package. And so I tweeted at that time, this is what the FedEx front page should look like. And it was a picture of the Google homepage with a FedEx logo instead of Google. The search bar said track package.
What number?
And there was one more link at the bottom that said everything else. So I said today, and I wrote a thing today where I said Microsoft should do that for privacy. Should be one thing, just a big switch box. You want us to do this or not? And if you just turn it off, you go on. I was joking. I know they'll never do that. But this made me go look at FedEx.com. Do you know what it looks like today? It's not a giant white page, but it literally is track your package right in the middle of the page. That's they did what I asked. And then around it are a couple of other things for everything else. They literally did what I asked them to do. Now, I don't think
I bet you and a million people were like, guys, make this easier, right?
I don't mean I did this. I mean,
no, I know what you're saying, though. It must have been their number one request, right? Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. So I get these jerks who like respond with stuff like, well, I just go to google.com and track packages. It's really easy. Yeah, that's nice. I was talking about FedEx.com, and FedEx should do the right thing by their customers. And by the way, they have. You can look it up. Go to the Wayback Machine and look at what it looked like in 2016. It's an amazing difference. So Microsoft could do this today. Instead of privacy theater, instead of lumping more and more options all over the screen and making it a confusing mess that nobody can read or understand, just do it. Just get it right. Just get it right. Stop doing it.
So you know what? Normally I would have said, no, they need more guinea pigs, but you're right, because they don't.
Yeah,
and
not anymore.
Most people would not turn it off. They wouldn't even know about how to, or they would have been nervous too, right? Normal people.
Look, there's all kinds of ways you can phrase this. Hey, look, you can turn this off, but if you want to help the world make Windows 10 a better place, whatever, this is the program. This is what we're doing. We're not doing it to harvest your personal data. We're not Google.
Right.
We're doing this to make Windows 10 better. It will make your computer better.
Yeah.
And if you say no, you say no.
That would be nice.
Would.
I don't get positive feedback a lot. You have to understand how important this is to me.
It would convince me that Microsoft isn't spying on us, right?
No, this tracking that they're doing is either 100% benign,
right,
or really damn close to it.
Right. I think you're right.
They are literally doing this to prevent future support costs that would occur because of all the problems that happen because of Windows as a service. That's it.
Yeah.
And by the way, with the success Apple's had promoting privacy. Oh, I should say too. We added that, right? So today Apple announced, because of the people who complained when they found out that contractors were listening to certain conversations that they had with Siri, Apple announced what they were going to do, and they're going to stop doing that. There will be Apple employees listening, but if you don't like that, you can just opt out. You don't have to be in that feedback program. That's exactly what Microsoft should do with Windows 10 privacy. Yep. It's exactly what Microsoft should do.
Yep.
Plus, it would remove one barrier that I hear from many Windows 7 people about why they won't go to 10. They're like, too much data collection, right?
Right. Oh, right. What great timing. They're trying to get people to upgrade, right? This is the right time to do it too. So through a combination of the Windows 7 upgrade and the fact that there are almost 1 billion people using this thing now, they don't need it all. They don't need it.
Yeah.
Do the right thing.
And it's technically feasible because they're already not collecting that data from people who are in the long-term servicing channel. So it's already, but the work has been done not to do it.
Yeah. I just think the program has run long enough. It's, think about it like the Windows Update stuff in Windows 7 Home. We don't know why they did that. We don't know why they didn't allow those people to stop upgrade, whatever. But they changed it, and now it's honestly it's fine. This is the right time to do it. Make it fine. Just do the right thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Simple.
I agree.
See, that was a rant without a rant.
No, we all agree.
It was well done. Yeah. But the next rant is the one I was more worried about.
Oh, is there another rant?
Could 19H2 be more screwed up?
That sounds like a rant to me, Mr. Thurrott.
I did find the perfect graphic for that article.
You did. I saw.
Oh, now I got to go look.
You got to look.
I got to go look.
Okay, let me try to explain.
Did you draw that?
No, I didn't.
That is a really good. Oh, Marty Fugati. Nice, Marty. Really nice. And that looks like Freud, but I guess it's just any generic professor.
It's like a professor guy.
Yeah. Nice.
So let me try to give the unranty version, then you can rant. How's that?
I might not have to.
Okay.
But yes, please do.
So we're talking about 19H2, which is also known as 1909. It's the version of Windows 10, the feature update that's going to be coming out this fall. So we know Microsoft's been doing all this weird testing of it, right? They've been giving some insiders things with features turned on and some with features turned off. And they said they were doing that so that they could test and make sure that they're able to deliver something with all the features turned off, and they'll be able to turn them on at a later date. Then this week happened. Microsoft rolls out a new test build of 19H2 to the release preview ring. First time that 19H2 has gone to the release preview ring. But instead of just having on and off, now they have a third option, right? Which is a totally different numbered build, which only 10% of the insiders in the release preview are getting. So now we've got the version with it off, the version with features on, and then this version with a different build number that has features off, I believe. I think we've kind of lost the plot at this point about how are they testing this thing.
You can't understand. Right. So let me try to do this in a non-rant way, because I feel like I'm on a positive slide here and I don't want to ruin it. So
you are. Let's keep it going.
so in the old days, it used to be kind of simple. Whatever you think of the Windows Insider program, the idea was there'll be a fast ring and you'll get, not every week. It's gone up and down depending on the day. But let's say, roughly weekly builds. It's the next version of Windows 10. It's the one that's coming out 6 months from now or less than 6 months from now. It's the next version. And then there was a slow ring. And the slow ring was, once a month or once every 6 weeks or whatever. Every once in a while, we'll have a fast ring build that's particularly stable or a good point for us for testing purposes, and you'll get that version. And then there was a release preview, and those guys would just get driver updates and app updates on top of the previous version of Windows 10 and whatever. So that's the system. It's fine. It's whatever it is. The thing that changed was with 19H2. Well, as we move. How do I say this? As we move past 1903, fast ring testers got 20H1 instead of 19H2. So they were testing a version that is 2 versions away. But nobody was testing 19H2 at first. In fact, for several months or some number of months. And I don't remember off the top of my head what that meant for the slow ring. They didn't get anything. I think they were just left.
Right. I think they weren't getting anything.
I don't think they ever went anywhere. And then sometime in the middle of the summer, they said, okay, here's what we're doing with the 19H2. We're going to push it to the slow ring. And you'll test this for a couple months. There'll be no new features, at least none that we turn on by default. And there's the system. Now, that they've changed the system. And people may like that or not like it, whatever. But, okay, it makes sense. I mean, if they're going to push the fast ring to 20H1, it makes sense that the slow ring will be on 19H2.
19H2.
Okay.
Yep.
But aside from that, the other bad habit that the Insider program has is they're doing more and more A/B testing. Mm-hmm. And the argument I've made against A/B testing is that you've got some number, 1 million to 16 million people who've signed up. They explicitly want to test the next version of Windows 10. And what you're saying is they're going to secretly, not with any choice that you can make, decide who gets some features and who don't. And that's always been a little bit contentious. But the problem is, like this past week, what they did, so they've escalated the A/B testing in 19H2 to the point where only a tiny percentage of people are actually getting to even look at the new features, which I think is kind of strange. And then they pushed it to the release preview wing. Now, normally in Windows 10 development, when a build or a version of Windows goes to release preview, that means it's about to be released, right? It's released it's what we used to call like a release candidate kind of stage or whatever. As Rich Wood said to me privately, not because it was private. I mean, we didn't say this on the web or on Twitter or anything. Right. But he messaged me. He said, there are potentially 6 different versions of this build now. 8 different versions. Because there's a version of 19H2 that has the A testing in slow ring. There's a version that has it in, and if you extrapolate this out, there are multiple versions of this build out there. It's impossible to know what you're going to get when you update Windows. You reboot, you look at the version number, and now we have an idea you can look. And only 10% of people on either one of those rings is actually getting to test these new features. And it's like, guys, you're making something that should be fun and productive, just like unbearable for the people that are doing it. And it just seems kind of pointless. Yeah. And so I guess this is a little bit like the Windows 10 thing we just discussed, the privacy thing, in that there should just be a switch, They could even do it, as my voice squeaks, they could even do it to the sense where maybe the first X% or X number will get onto the 19H2, and then if you wait too long, you won't, or whatever. That would be fine. But The way they're doing it and the way they're keeping it secret and the way they've almost exponentially made it more complex, it's like I can't even understand what's happening anymore.
I know. And the part that's sad here is we were excited when we heard what they were doing with 19H2 because we're like, oh, good. They're actually making this easier, right? They're going to make it so when you get 19H2, all the features will be off and it'll be something that IT will be more apt to want to use because it's been in testing longer and it looks really simple. Like, yeah, you'll get it and you'll at some point be either Microsoft or you will be turning features on. Instead, the way this is being tested right now has just become
they're turning off people that should be fans of the company and want to do this. And I'll just say from my own personal experience. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say Monday when this post came out, because it came out kind of late in the day, I read it and I just shut my PC off. I'm like, nope, I'm not even going to try to.
It doesn't even make sense. It's the second time this summer I've had to piece through it sentence by sentence and try to explain what they're saying because it doesn't make any sense. It's something I haven't had to do since the Windows 8 days. Like it's nonsense.
No, so so here's the even crazier part. So the reason the build number got incremented up 1 in this build is because they want this to show up as a feature update and not as a cumulative update for support, right? So that they can support it for a set amount of time. And if it showed up as a cumulative update, it would have a whole different set of rules about that. So the reason they're bumping that number up is that. That's why. I
left off a huge part of my complaint. I just realized. The other confusing thing here, and this is something Microsoft gets wrong all the time in their blog posts, and it drives me insane, is there are correct names for things, right? And in the case of Windows, the correct name of these versions is Windows 10 version 1903, Windows 10 version 1909. Those are the right names for those things.
Right.
But they always use 3 different names to describe the same thing. So just looking at 1903, which has always been called 1903, they will sometimes refer to it as the May 2019 update, which is not the name of that product. That's the name of the software update that you install to get to the version 1903. It's not the name of the thing. It's the name of the update. They have retroactively started referring to it as 19H1. If you look at that most recent post, they actually use all 3 of those names.
Yeah.
Guys, seriously, you're the mothership. You're the ones that need to get this right. There is literally no quality control in this group, and it reflects in the product, and it's getting to be a huge, huge problem. I will say personally, because I was very excited for this to happen. I finished updating Windows 10 Field Guide for version 1903. I know that there are major new features in 19H2, 1909. I know that I can support that in the book if I just know what those features are and I can write about them where I have to, if I have to. So I enrolled 2 of my computers while I was in Amsterdam, and once I had finished the book, at the time in the slow ring, neither one of them got the update. After I got home, I upgraded now 2 computers, but at the time it was 1 to the release preview ring because that's where it is now. Neither one of them has gotten it. And what people are telling me is only 10% of people who enroll their computers actually get into the system. Guys, I enrolled to be in the Insider program, not to not be in it. I don't understand why you let me do it and then silently let it fail and don't tell me. It's just, it is just a complete betrayal of the entire point of the Insider program, right? When they announced Windows 10, they announced the Insider program. That's when we met, what's his name? The guy who's gone now. I can't even remember his name. Gabe All. And at that event, remember? And it was such an exciting switch from the secrecy of the previous regime. And I thought, this is going to be so wonderful. And I got to tell you, we're almost exactly, 4 or 5, I guess it's 5 years later now. And it's like they've completely reversed themselves. This blog post reads like something those people would have written from the Windows 8 days. And this system where you don't know if you're going to get it or not is exactly what those jerks would have done. And it's disheartening. Am I wrong?
No. The other thing, by the way, that we don't know, and I've seen some people gloss over this, we don't know if this is the new normal. We don't know if from now on H2 builds are going to be throttled like this, and if this is how they're going to be tested, and if they're all going to ship with no new features, because Microsoft won't say if this is the new way forward. I think they should just say if it is or isn't.
Sure.
Like I feel like we should know, right?
They're if you want to be less specific about all the complaints I just made, the biggest problem I have with what's happening in Windows specifically, but we could say Microsoft in general, but let's say Windows, is communication. These people cannot communicate. And we have talked about this for years.
I know.
This is not something new. It just keeps continuing. And then every time they miscommunicate something like this terrible blog post, which is terrible nonsense, mishmash of words, it just keeps coming back. Like how, this is like a rope-a-dope game or something. Like what, how, why does this keep happening?
We also still don't know. Are there major features in 20H1? Because that's why they said they jumped to 20H1 ahead of 19H2.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if there really are any major features in 20H1, or if they just said that because they didn't want to explain at the time why they jumped over 19H2.
See, I believe there will be, and I think they're waiting for something.
Hopefully it's Core OS. Hopefully it's Core OS in the shell.
Right.
Right.
There's an architectural change that has to occur to support this new version of the operating system.
Yeah.
And again, this is what led into the speculation that we started the show with, which is they have an event in October. We've known this thing has been coming for months. And the timing makes sense because 19H2 or 1909 or whatever you want to call it, I'm sure we could pretend that we could call it the September 2019 update, which is I'm sure what the insider guys will call it for the next 6 months. But whatever it's called will have occurred. And now we can start talking about the new stuff. And maybe that's what they're waiting on. It could be so. And that's what might make this event really interesting.
I know. Also, what are we going to start calling this stuff next year? Like, are we going to call the first version that comes out next year 2003, which some people will call 2003?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. If only someone had thought through this when they started down this naming path. It's like, I don't know. And by the way, I should have added to my rant about names. There is, of course, a fourth name, I should say, and this is related to this conversation because there is that major minor build number. You could also refer to those. I don't know off the top of my head. I can make numbers up, but it's Windows 10, and then there's a version, or I guess we call it a version number. It's a major minor version number, and right now in 19H2. Versus 1903, there are the same. No, it's not the same. The major number is +1 on 19H2, but the minor number is the same. And what it indicates is that you're at the same cumulative update level. It's also an indication that these things are, in fact, exactly the same, right? Other than these new features that do or do not exist. I don't know. I don't want things to be this complex.
I know it's really complicated. It is.
I don't like it.
It feels like when they first started testing throttling, I was like, okay, I get what they're doing. Like they're making sure stuff can be on or off. But at some point, you've tested that, right? It works or it doesn't work. It's on or off, right? Okay.
Well, look,
I know.
I appreciate.
I'm not pretending. I'm making this sound so simple. Like I actually know how they build this or do this, but
no, I don't. You're not oversimplifying it. They have been shipping cumulative updates for Windows 10 for 4.5 years. They should know how it works. They do more than once a month. I don't know what the average is over time, 1.5 to 2 somewhere, something like that. They have been shipping feature updates for the same amount of time. This is the first time they're doing a feature update that's actually delivered as a cumulative update. We're talking semantics as far as I'm concerned, because honestly, this thing is just a cumulative update. But they want to market it as a feature update, I think, for support reasons, right? Because this is the stabler version of the thing that came out earlier in the year, and it's going to have some enterprise 30 months, whatever the time frame is, support cycle. That's fine. I don't mind that they're doing that. But I and many other enthusiasts, again, 1 to 16 million of them, have joined the Insider program for very specific reasons. And it was that way for a little while, and they've really started screwing with it, and they've screwed with it now so much. It's like, guys, what am I doing here exactly? You're not giving me the thing I signed up explicitly to test. If you're not going to do it, just don't let me sign up. Don't pretend I'm going to get it. I said, I can't explain it better than I've explained it. I don't understand what they're doing. I don't agree with it either, obviously.
Obviously.
All right. How's my heartbeat doing?
Clang the end of rant gong.
Yeah, he did okay. He kept it in. Even though we went a little long on it, he kept it in check.
Didn't spin out of control. Isn't it nuts?
It's nuts.
It's nuts.
So in this scheme, 1903 is the ass and H2 is the elbow.
Okay. Now we.
I think they need to redraw the rings. They need to redraw the rings.
By the way, if you want to feel good about what's happening in the Windows Insider program, look at the Xbox Insider program.
That's crazy, right?
That's always been insane. It's so insane that sometime in the past 2 weeks, they actually just put up a new post to explain it again because nobody understands it. Yeah. It's needlessly complex. It is actually even worse than this.
Wow.
The difference, I guess, is they haven't screwed with it as much, but it's always been terrible.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to mobile. And some good news, your phone is down. Oh, wait a minute. It's back up. Okay. This is yesterday, was this?
Yeah, I think so. So somebody asked me, and I just threw it in the notes because I don't really know, but do you think this could possibly be caused by the fact that this is now an integrated feature with the new notes?
Yeah, there are a lot of new note users in the world. I'm one of them. The Note 10 Plus I got.
Did you link your Note to Microsoft?
Sure. It kind of, as you pointed out, with your Note 10, it comes with a Microsoft folder. It's all very Microsofty. And the first thing I did is launch Dex, which works on Windows and does not really work very well on Mac.
That's terrible, actually, on the app. So let me ask you a question about that. Have you used Dex on...
I used it on the Lenovo.
No, but I mean, have you used it not on a PC? Like, have you used it with like a USB hub or whatever?
Not in this new phone. I had used it before, yeah.
And was the performance like this? Is this what it was like?
No, it was pretty good. I think they're doing emulation now or something.
I don't like, the way it works is it's basically unusable as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. It's it's one of the reasons I wanted to take a look at the Note 10. I thought this is really a good idea.
No, me too.
Yeah.
But no.
I don't mind testing it otherwise. I mean, I honestly, you could make the case if you have a laptop, what are you doing with your phone anyway? But I kind of like the idea, though, that you can do it.
Like I said last week, it's briefcase. It's you have it at work. You don't see the old Dex. You had to have just like a dedicated mouse, monitor, and keyboard lying around unattached. But now it's your Windows machine. Plug it in with the Type C cable. You have to have Type C, and all your data's on the phone now. Some of your apps might be on the phone. You can run your Android apps, which better than your phone can run your Android apps. And then
for sure.
And then you take it with you, and then you take it home, and all your stuff's still there.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I mean, I do think there's a use case for someone like I said earlier. There is this group of people. I think it's a pretty big group who can get a lot of work done on a phone. But every once in a while, they have to have that bigger screen and keyboard, and this is one way to do it. You're doing most of the work on the phone anyway. You bring up this Dex environment. Now you have your access to your screen and your keyboard, and you can finish it off, whatever the thing is you're working on, a report or whatever. But yeah, in my experience, it's been very slow.
Yeah.
So I'll keep trying it, but so far not so good.
Right.
Anyway, your phone is back. It's okay now. But yeah, it suffered kind of an embarrassing one-day outage there, and it was right at the time, this stuff just went live on Friday, right?
Yeah. Though, so I use your phone on with my Pixel 3 XL and Windows 10. And I got to tell you, like a lot of times it's down. It's not syncing. I mean, it's not unusual for it to not be working in my experience.
Yep.
But this was a really big outage. This was like 14 hours. It was completely down for everybody. And they haven't said why. They haven't said what happened.
I like the idea of it. I mean, obviously, it's a good idea.
Same. Yep.
The Samsung partnership, maybe, if Microsoft is lucky, could result in this thing becoming technically better. Samsung certainly knows a lot more about Android than Microsoft does, right? So ideally, this would be a Google thing, but Google, of course, wants to do this integration in Chromebook. They don't care about Windows.
Yeah.
But I've had better success with the Messages app that Google makes is on the web. And if all you want is the ability to send and receive text messages on your PC, that app, which is a PWA, works wonderfully. It's always been very reliable for me. And it I don't have major issues with your phone, but I have noticed what you've said. Like, sometimes it just seems like it's just not there.
Yep.
Okay. And I know everybody's very excited about Mary Jo's dark mode.
What?
She's dark and getting darker.
I'm dark. No, all I did, I tweeted the Microsoft thing. I'm like, anybody who cares about dark mode, here it is for Outlook on iOS and Android.
I'm curious why you said it that way. You don't care about dark mode is what I'm hearing.
No, don't care.
It's such a polarizing thing. Some people
I also
hate
don't
it.
use Outlook. I don't use Outlook on Android. I use 9. 9 is
yeah. But, okay, so here's the problem though. You don't have a dark mode on Android yet, right? And so when I don't, right? It's not coming till the next version.
Yeah, but it's the next version is like days away.
Right.
No, I understand, but I mean the point is you haven't experienced it yet. So dark mode on Android and on iOS 13 is amazing. Like it's excellent, and obviously for this to work, you need the apps have to support it.
Some
One of the
people
weird
don't
things
like dark mode though, Paul. I know it's hard for us to understand, but it's true.
No, I don't care. So Brad I've had this conversation with Brad. He doesn't like dark mode, and to me, dark mode is easier on the eyes. It's supposedly better on the battery, I guess, on OLED screens or something maybe, but I don't. That I'm not super concerned about, but we talked about this in Windows. Like right now, I have the lightness of a web window kind of pulled down to the bottom because it's so bright in my face.
Yeah.
But I've got Twitter open as dark mode. I've got the OneNote app as dark mode. I love it. It's just less, glary in my face. So then bringing dark mode to apps on Android, iOS, and the web is it's important. It's not
the biggest problem with dark mode, and I've been using dark mode in beta on Android 10 on my Pixel, and then of course it's on the new version of Mac OS Mojave. Is the apps that aren't in dark mode kind of blind you?
Oh, that's what I mean. Right. So on my phone,
everything's
like the whole
dark.
thing is in dark mode. Yeah. Then you switch to like Gmail, and it's like a flashlight in your face.
So we're early days of dark mode, but eventually.
No, but that's why Microsoft being part of this movement to dark mode is important because if you use those apps a lot, you need the apps you use to be in dark mode.
Yes, I agree.
Right.
Yeah. Everything has to be dark.
Very true. She's like, whatever, I don't care.
Well,
no, I know people care a lot. I just am like, if you want dark mode, there it is. Good.
Yeah, and it's an
no,
option.
but that's different from not liking. She's ambivalent about it. See, I think
I am ambivalent.
Like some people really hate it. I actually think that once this becomes more of a thing, you'll actually prefer it. I think most people probably do. And that the people who don't are broken inside. I'm not afraid to say that.
No, I'll tell you, there really is two different schools of thought. I like dark mode. A lot of people who, especially those who don't go outside much, really don't like the blinding. But people have their screens too bright. That's another well-known issue. Is everybody's screens are too bright. And there is a case to be made for dark text on a light background. That's how books are. It's kind of a little better for the eye if your screen's not too bright. So I think it's reasonable. Both sides have reasons to prefer it.
Right.
And I had dark mode on my Mac, and I turned it off after a while. I didn't like it. It was too dark. But I think on a phone, a dark mode is really nice.
I like the way Apple did dark mode in Mac OS 10.
Well, they did it right.
OS.
That's for sure.
Yeah, I think it's nice. And Apple's got the nice thing about the Apple stuff is iOS or Mac. I mean, the developers seem to go right along with all the new stuff. And so, iOS dark mode, I think it's going to be very well supported. If I feel like the apps I use on the Mac, and I don't use a ton of them, but have done that as well. So I mean that's what's required. So it looks like Microsoft's doing the right thing. Obviously, my own website needs a dark mode because right now this thing's lighting up my face like a spotlight, like someone's calling Batman or something.
It burns. It burns.
Yeah,
makes your hair look even nicer.
it's like lighting it from underneath. Like
it's good.
Yeah,
you look like Boris Karloff. Yeah, it's good. And then I guess we should probably, what's this, Microsoft? Now, see, I'm not sure if you mean Microsoft Authenticator is back up on Android or can back up.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. No, I threw that in because at the time I wasn't sure what the full story was. So just last week, I get this question every few months. Somebody will say, hey, I want to move to a new phone, but I don't want to pull all of my accounts out of Authenticator. So if you're using iOS, this is not a problem. They actually have cloud-based backup and restore, but on Android, for some reason, they do not.
Right.
So just last Friday, somebody asked me this question. I posted the thing, and I'm like, I have no idea why they don't have this yet. The good news is, as of today, it's coming. So if you're in the beta channel for Microsoft Authenticator, you will get that update now. Like right now, you should already have it. That means that sometime in the next few weeks, everyone will get it. And what that means is it will be much easier to go from phone to phone. And honestly, I think this is mostly just important for people who have a lot of accounts in there.
Right.
I only have a handful, and listen, I change phones all the time. I don't find it to be a problem moving accounts between Authenticator apps. Some accounts support multiple Authenticator apps too. So, but this will make it a lot easier for everybody. So it is coming if you're looking for that.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
It's good news.
And let's do a little Xbox, just to annoy me.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah, just get it over with.
Just a needle narrative.
Okay, yeah, just like take it like a needle or something.
Yeah.
Just like a natural childbirth.
It'll be over soon. Yeah, it'll be over soon.
So I think it was just about a month ago, or maybe the very beginning of August, Microsoft announced that they were going to take multiple steps to clean up Mixer, right? And so as you would imagine, like any online community, especially one based around video gaming, there's a lot of inappropriate behavior happening and blah, blah, blah. And so, they're getting rid of the mobile app where people could kind of trash talk while someone else was streaming and stuff. And they're taking steps to make the whole thing better. The first major step, well, actually, that was the first major step. But the next major step is they're implementing, I think by the beginning of September, something called Streamer Review. And unless you're like an accredited, I don't remember what the name is, but if you're like an accredited streamer, what you're going to have to do is basically reapply with Microsoft to be able to stream on Mixer, because what they don't want is you to be out there, spouting hate or doing, bad things, whatever it is. And so there's a review process. You can proactively go and do that now. If not, you'll have to do it. You'll be notified before the beginning of September, which is actually next week. And they're doing that now. And there'll be more steps in the future. But, again, this is just part of a process. They're trying to, they want Mixer to be a good place for people to go and not have to worry about trash talking and that kind of stuff. And there's a lot more to it, but this is the first, the second, I guess, one of the big steps toward making Mixer a kind of a safe and friendly place for everybody. So
Great.
That's good.
Yay.
That's good.
All right, let's take a little time out. When we come back, tips, tricks, and beer, the back of the book. Just around the corner. But first, a word from our sponsor, Capterra. If you're using, I think the main reason 47% of all small and medium-sized businesses are still on Windows 7 is they have software that has to run on Windows 7. I think that's why people still run XP. There's probably people out there running Windows 98 because their line of business software uses Active Desktop or something, right? Or IE5 or something. There is, I'm happy to say, modern line of business software out there for you. Capterra has the latest, greatest software for almost any business, every big category, in fact, 700 categories of software, from project management, email marketing, e-commerce, but also software specifically for particular businesses, yoga studio management, running a dog grooming business, whatever it is. Capterra is the leading free online resource to help you find the best software for your business. You can go in there, you can pick your, the software you're looking for. You can then say, I want it to be running on premises on my own hard drive, or I want it to be running in the cloud. I want, if you're making appointments, can it make appointments? How many seats can it have? And I love that because the checkbox changes depending on the software and the category. So there are appropriate kind of filters for that particular software. Narrow it down, and because there's so many programs on here, even when you narrow it down, you're still going to have a choice of a few. You can compare side by side, but the best part is the reviews. 1 million reviews now. They crossed the 1 million review mark, all of them up to date and from actual users. Capterra vets these very carefully. So you've got real users telling you what this program can and can't do. It's the best source of this kind of information. And it's completely free. Millions of people use Capterra to find the tools for their business. That's why there's so many reviews, more than 1,000 new reviews every day. It's a very lively, vigorous marketplace that costs you nothing. Nothing. Free. Capterra believes software makes the world a better place because software can help every organization become a more efficient, effective version of itself. So right now, you need to go to capterra.com/windows for free to find the tools to make an informed decision for your business. CAPTERRA.com/Windows. Capterra is software selection simplified. Capterra.com/Windows. Thank you, Capterra, they've been a great sponsor all year long for Windows Weekly. We appreciate that. And I thank you, Windows Weekly user, Windows Weekly listener, for using that special address and letting them know you saw it here. Capterra.com/Windows. Let's kick things off with Paul and your tip of the week.
Yeah. And psych, Mary Jo, we're not done with Xbox.
What? Oh, man.
Yeah. Or with Mixer, as it turns out. This is kind of cool. So, one of the ways that Mixer works is obviously the people, they call them creators. They don't really like that name, but the people who stream on Mixer can earn money, and people can donate to them and so forth. And Microsoft has a system of rewards where if you watch streams and you get these rewards, you can use the rewards to pay, to get virtual currency that you can use to pay others and all that kind of stuff. But this week they announced a way that you can pay your favorite Mixer creator for free. And so if you sign up or upgrade to Xbox Game Pass using a code that your creator will provide, that creator will get $3 for every person who does. Wow. It doesn't cost you anything.
That's
just kind of a nice, just a nice little throwaway thing. So depending on the version of Xbox Game Pass you have, you can upgrade to Ultimate, or if you don't have it, you can just get any version. And if you do that because of a Mixer creator, they will get $3. So, reward your favorite creator.
Yay.
And also, on that note, I would like to announce my new Mixer channel.
All you got to do is dye your hair pink, Paul. You're in.
Exactly.
Day drinking with Paul Thurrott.
Day drinking with Paul. Oh, man. I'm
day drinking. Right. Watch my skills decline markedly as...
It's such a good podcast name.
Then you watch him playing games, and you calculate how many Patch Tuesdays he's had and how he's doing.
The alternate title was Getting Paul with Drunk. But we'll get there. We'll get to something. Anywho, as I mentioned earlier, I think today I have been writing this increasingly long series about the history of Windows as shown from kind of a developer standpoint. Yeah. And I'm writing the late 1990s right now, which, by the way, is probably the most, well, I shouldn't say that because the .NET stuff's going to be crazy too, but it's a really fertile time period. And two of the things that came out of this is I do all this research for these articles, and I have had in my possession for many years Microsoft's planning documents for Cairo, which was that major version of NT that was going to come after the original version and never really shipped. I mean, they put sort of parts of it in other versions of NT. But I also have this other planning document, which is about the 3 versions of Windows that were going to follow Cairo that never happened.
I never heard of Neptune. I've never heard of this.
Neptune.
I never heard of
Neptune, interestingly. Yeah. So these, so things that were sort of like those either leaked or happened, but none of these releases ever came out. So under this original plan, which was from 1998, Microsoft was going to ship something called Windows NT 5.0, which they eventually did. That was called Windows 2000. And Windows NT 5.0 was going to be a major release. But one of the problems at Microsoft, well, of course, at this time, they had 2 versions of Windows, right? They had the DOS-based versions, and then they had the NT-based versions. And so one of the plans was that they wanted to bring these lines together, and they wanted NT to be the thing going forward. And that was going to happen. This is what the 3-release plan was all about. So after NT 5.0, they were going to go on an annual release cycle. They were going to have a minor release, a major release, a minor release, and then 9X would go away. That was the original plan. That never happened. It just never happened. But what's interesting about this is way back in, I want to say 1992, Nathan Myhrvold, I almost said Cameron Myhrvold, but Nathan Myhrvold, who was the chief scientist of Microsoft, was kind of bemoaning Microsoft's way of doing business because they didn't have a way to latch on to subscription fees. And so they actually came up with OS upgrades as the closest thing they could get to subscription fees. And then, of course, they tried to get into the TV market, and that failed. And that was one way they were going to get monthly fees from people. And so at this time, they were like, well, we'll just do annual releases, and then we'll get money every year for Windows. It'll be great. And NT Asteroid was a minor release. That was the one that was going to come after NT 5.0. You could make the argument that they did really, some people are like, well, Asteroid is Service Pack 1 for Windows 2000. It's not, but because this was like a retail release, whatever. Never happened. But Neptune was going to be the big one. And that's the most interesting one because they actually did release a build of this, and you can get it today if you want to see it. It's just Windows 2000, basically. But this was going to come with improvements to Active Directory and ZA, the Zero Administration for Windows. It was going to add 64-bit support for the first time. It was going to have COM+, which eventually occurred. the most interesting thing was it was actually going to have something called WinPlus. And WinPlus was this new user interface they were working on. And you might remember there were things like activity centers that they eventually put into Windows Millennium Edition, some of them sort of. That was part of it. It kind of merged into the UI work they did for Avalon in Longhorn, which sort of happened as probably, well, I don't remember what they called it, WPF or WinFor. I guess it was WPF probably. I don't remember, but there was all this stuff. It was going to be awesome. It didn't happen. And then after Neptune, and by the way, I should say Neptune, the way they originally wrote it in this planning document from 1998 was capital N, capital T, right? Because it was NT, right? Neptune. Yeah.
Oh, no. I thought it stood for new technology. Is it Neptune?
No, but Neptune was written that way just to make the connection.
I get it. I make the connection. Oh, okay.
Wow. And then there was
you knew all this, Mary Jo, right? This is all.
I knew Neptune. I knew what Neptune was, but I didn't know what asteroid was. I never had heard that.
Wow. No, these are very uncommon. The thing that kills me about this is I didn't find this on the web somewhere. I had this in my I had this. I've had it for a long time. I just forgot I had it. The idea was
this is why we like gray-haired people on this show.
I'm fascinated by this era, but the point of this was to get people off of 9X, right? To get them off of DOS.
By the way, that's the title of Paul's other podcast. I've had it for a long time.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
It's kind of a triple meaning, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. And Windows 98 originally was supposed to be the end. Like the idea was we're going to ship one service pack and we are done with this thing. And of course they released 98 SE and then they released Millennium Edition and then finally XP came. So they actually, if you think about it, 99, 2000, 2001 was the 3-year plan. They shipped Windows XP in 2001. They still kind of, they got there, but of course Windows XP was codenamed Whistler. And they dropped all those astronomy theme names, and then the successors to those things, that thing I should say, were going to be Longhorn and Blackcomb. And under the original plan, Longhorn was a minor release and Blackcomb was a major release. And Longhorn, of course, is the bar between those two mountains where the people from Microsoft go skiing. It was how you get from Whistler to Blackcomb. That was the little inside joke about those names. But Longhorn eventually became a major release. And then, of course, it never happened either. And they shipped Windows Vista instead, which everyone remembers fondly because it was so excellent.
You know what's, for me, of all the things you just said that's super interesting is you have the Cairo plan. Mm-hmm. Because wasn't there a huge lawsuit over Microsoft not ever delivering Cairo?
Yeah. So off the top of my head, I will say this. So the major pieces of Cairo, they actually did ship something like what they promised, sort of. Yeah. Most of it. Yeah. They never had an object-oriented file system. Right.
Information at your fingertips, object-oriented file system.
But the thing that screwed Cairo, oddly enough, was Windows 95 because they were the Cairo guys had developed this object-oriented user interface. It was super complicated and awesome, and you could, objects could explain everything they could do to anyone that queried them and so forth. And so they said, look, we got to put this in Windows 95 because we want the UIs to be the same. So the Windows 95 guys looked at this and they're like, this will never run in Windows 95. The system can only have 4 megabytes of RAM. Like, how are we going to do this? So they completely stripped it down. It was OLE based. Actually, it was a subset of OLE based. They actually shipped a subset of OLE inside Windows 95 because they couldn't even do full OLE. And they just made a kiddie version of it. But Windows 95 sold like 130 million copies in the first year or whatever it was. And they were like, guys, you're going to have to use this in NT. Sorry. Like, we're not doing a different UI. So the little kiddie UI is the one that ended up winning. And that object-oriented stuff they wanted to do got blown by the wayside. But the point of object-oriented file system, if you remember Windows 95, and I actually forgot this, but if you could search for file names, but you couldn't search for contents. And so the point of object orientation was that you would be able to search for contents. And they eventually added that with indexing. Like, you remember the index thing in Windows Search that would everyone would be like, why isn't my hard drive going to town? And it would be because you stopped using it, and then it would index when you weren't using it. That was how they got around having something sophisticated. Yeah. So they eventually did some of it.
Yeah.
But no, there was never something called Cairo. Yeah.
What a great a piece of history. You have to be a premium member of Thurrott.com, but it's well worth it.
Yeah, I should say, I am going to turn this into a book, by the way.
Nice.
Oh, you are?
So eventually, yeah. I think the more I think about it, because this thing has become so big and it's going to get bigger, I'm probably going to split it in half. And I'm thinking .NET's going to be the dividing point. So it will be like the beginning of Windows through,
oh, great. I love
guess,
this.
XP
That's
maybe.
cool.
I love this stuff.
And then the .NET stuff will be the second half.
Nice.
And then 8 and 10.
And all these code names that you just brought up, Asteroid, Neptune, Triton, was Ulysses also one of those?
Not in this document.
Not, okay.
I'll give you both these documents. This was very specifically about these three things.
Nice. I can't wait. Okay, cool.
Yep.
And who's going to play .NET in the movie?
Richard Campbell.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
He rocks. I'm thinking developer pick of the week is Mary Jo Foley.
It is. And we're going to do a little history on this one, too.
Oh, nice.
Who remembers ExFAT?
I use it every day. Still.
You probably do, actually.
Extended file allocation table.
That's how I format all my USB thumb drives.
Yep. It's a standard, well, de facto standard, right? For things like memory cards. And it's a Microsoft-owned technology. If you remember back into late 2000s, Microsoft sued TomTom for infringing on its ExFAT patent.
I don't remember that. Now, it's obviously based on FAT 16 and 32.
It is. Yep, correct. So when Microsoft did that, they got the whole Linux community in an uproar because they said, oh, if they sued them, it means anybody who's using ExFAT is in danger.
We can't put it into Linux.
No. So today, because Microsoft loves Linux, Microsoft published the ExFAT specification, and they said their goal is to get it included in the Linux kernel.
Oh, my God. That would be so awesome.
Yep. So the way they're doing this is they publish the specification today. They've been working with the Open Invention Network. Remember, they open sourced a bunch of their patents. They said all at the time. I'm not sure it was all, but they're next saying they are going to work with OIN to get ExFAT put into the future revision of the Linux system definition. And then it'll be part of the OIN patent pact so that they won't sue anyone who's using it. And then they hope it's going to be included in the Linux kernel.
Yeah.
What a world.
Yeah. That would be huge.
It would be huge.
Really good news.
Yep.
Wow. I mean, there are extensions, Fuse and so forth that you can install, but having in the kernel would just make support native, and that would be fantastic.
It would. So if you're a Linux developer,
Microsoft, that's great.
I know. As I said in the
proof.
notes, hold on to your patents, penguins.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Hey, we've talked about natural childbirth. We've talked about Paul's hair. Gotta throw some penguins in here.
Now,
that's fair.
The code name pick of the week.
Right. So this has been the codename pick before, but it's very pertinent now because of all the confusion around these different versions of Windows going forward. So when Microsoft, after Terry Myerson left, Microsoft split the Windows division. The engineering team went to Azure, and the UI UX stuff stayed with Joe Belfiore, and they went under the Microsoft 365 group. What happened also then, which has gotten not as much publicity, is the Windows team actually started using the code names that Azure uses for referencing Windows versions. So we talk about things like 19H2, 1909, but the way Microsoft talks about that is they call it vanadium. That's from the periodic table of elements, and that is how inside Microsoft they talk about what's coming out this fall. The reason it's a code name this week is it started to bubble up in code and references. I've seen some people tweeting about it, and they're like, what is this thing? What's Windows Vanadium? That's what it is. It's 19H2. And 20H1 is codenamed Vibranium. It should have been codenamed Chromium if you look at the periodic table. But that would have been really confusing, right? With Credge and Chrome. So instead they
would have thought it was the Chrome OS thing.
Right. So it's not.
LiteOS.
Vibranium is the fake element name they're using for 20H1. So if you see references to Windows 10 Vibranium, it means 20H1. Related, there's a special issue out today on Bloomberg of the Elements. It's called special issue The Elements if you look on Bloomberg Business Week. And it's so cool. It's a whole thing about the periodic table of elements and stories about the elements. So I kind of wondered if vanadium was in there as Microsoft.
They're there's talk about changing the table.
Oh, is there? I didn't know that.
Yeah, the structure of it. Apparently it is starting to, it's not scalable, I guess.
Oh, we're running out of numbers.
Yeah, or something. I don't know.
Yeah. But it's pretty cool. If you look at this thing on Bloomberg, just look for Bloomberg and periodic table. And there is one story featuring Microsoft in there. It's about strontium, I think, because there was some hacking thing or virus thing that was connected to that. And Microsoft ended up suing somebody. I wanted vanadium to be in there, but it wasn't. It was vanadium's listed in a different way. Nothing to do with Windows. So, yeah.
Interesting code name. All right, let's get some beer.
All right.
We need beer.
So, yes. Anchor Brewing sent me some beer.
I love Anchor. They're our practically local brewery until Lagunitas came along. That was the closest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they sent me a note and they mailed me some of their newest pale ale.
Oh,
they actually had to mail it twice. Somebody stole the first box.
Of course they did.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so this one is called Anchor.
Or did you say someone stole it?
Yeah. I think they were wondering. Wondering when I said that. I'm like, no, really.
Anchor is great. I love Anchor.
They are.
Yeah.
They're really good. So Anchor Brewing Brewer's Pale Galaxy Hop Blend. So they're doing this whole series where they take one hop and they make a beer all around that hop. So Galaxy hops are from Australia and they're very flowery, very nice. So here's the thing about this beer. If you like Anchor beers, you are going to really like this beer because what they don't do is try to be all trendy like everyone else and make it so hoppy that your mouth is just like, woo, right? It's very balanced. It's a lot of malt in there in addition to the hops. But if you're like me and you want that woo, you may just be like, it's okay. So for me, I would say if you're a hop head, it might not be your best choice, but if you are somebody who likes a balanced beer, it would be a better choice.
Yeah. Well, let's not get crazy.
Let's not get too crazy.
Am I reading this right? Does Sapporo own Anchor now?
You know what? I don't know, but they might. I mean, all the craft brewers are getting bought up.
Heineken
all of them
has bought out Lagunitas.
Yeah.
Sapporo, which is actually, I really like Sapporo beer.
I like Sapporo beer.
Yeah.
Yep, same.
It's a mass-produced beer.
It is.
The Budweiser of Japan, but it's good.
Yeah, it is good.
Unlike the Budweiser of America.
Yeah, not so good. Yeah.
Cool. Well, gosh, if you're getting beer mailed to you, Mary Jo, you're now in.
I know.
You're in.
I've now made
it. You're doing something right.
I'm done.
Your name is made.
My work is done here.
Yes. That's Mary Jo Foley. You'll find her work at allaboutmicrosoft.com. That's her ZDNet blog. Paul Thurrott's work is legend at Thurrott.com. Or is it Legion? I can't remember.
I literally was just going to say that.
Or Legion.
It might be both.
THURROWT.com. And of course, the book, Field Guide to Windows 10, now updated for 1903, is available at leanpub.com. That's where his books are. And well worth the purchase. And I'm going to buy the new one. When you put this 2-volume set out, that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
It's
a good idea. When I first started writing this, I thought by this time I'd have like 5 or 6 articles or something.
Yeah. No, it
just
gets
kind of
deeper and
exploded.
deeper. Yeah. Another fun episode. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Mary Jo. We do Windows Weekly Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1700 UTC. You can tune in live at twit.tv/live with live audio and video streams there. You can even ask your Amazon Echo or your Google Assistant to play Twit live, and I think you'll get the live stream. If you're doing that, though, you might as well chat with the chat room because they're also here live at irc.twit.tv, a great place to hang out. If you want to hear it after the fact, we put it up on the website, twit.tv/ww, both audio and video. Or you can subscribe in your favorite podcast application. There's buttons on the website, or just, open your phone and search for Windows Weekly and press the subscribe button. That way you'll get it automatically. Don't even have to think about it. Ready for your Wednesday or commute home or your Thursday commute in. Thanks, Paul, and thanks, Mary Jo. Have a great week. We'll see you next week, Labor Day. Have a good Labor Day weekend,
Thanks.
And we'll see you in
too.
September.
Speaking of baby births, right? Labor Day, huh? Nothing.
We do have a comment about that, though. Briefing Carmine. I'm so glad I got my Windows 10 1903 delivered naturally. I was going to go for the C-section, but decided against it.
No, you gotta go natural.
That's the new model. Windows 1903. You may want an epidural.
Yes.
We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly.